if you managed me. I could be Psycho Boy and you could be Psycho Girl.
That was something that Velvet and I were so good at in The Beautiful People. Get people emotionally invested in you, whether they love you or hate you.
My rise was quick. Everybody pays their dues in different ways.
In the Diva era, it was how you look, how you look, how you look. How tall are you and how much do you weigh? Then it was, I just noticed you've really lost a lot of weight. What is it? Are we fat? Are we too skinny?
I had some issues that almost led to my death. You're given another chance. Take what you've learned to help you excel.
This introduction of this variable, the divas.
Every woman who gets into the business, the first thing that is offered to you is you can sleep your way to the top. I'm so good and I should be on TV. Why are all these girls that are being taught how to do a 3-minute match that day on television and like we're not? Everybody just has a different path.
More success pushes me to go even harder. Once you get that first taste, now I want to go even further.
When you're in Deep South, they shipped you to OVW. You were let go 2 days later.
That was a very wild and hectic time, that whole Deep South thing. TNA was starting the Knockouts division. A lot of us went from devastated because we never made it in WWE. And then we got to go do this thing and man, it blew up.
Attempt to walk straight or adjust your gait. This is LiMPiN AiNT. I am your handy captivating host. My name is Timmy Baltimore. Don't forget to hop on that short bus. Click like, subscribe, comment on our content. My guest today, guests, plural. It's a very special show. The first time we've had a married couple on the program. And they are the very talented Psycho Boy Fodder, Angelina Love, cumulatively Psycho Love. How are you guys? Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for coming on. You know, I've known Angelina for a while. We've known each other for a while. We go back a little bit. Psycho Boy, we've run in sort of the same circles somewhere.
Sure.
I'm really interested in getting to know a little bit more about you. I guess I want to start off by asking you guys, and I guess this can go separately and then collectively. What's important to you guys and why?
Life in general, man, just one, living a good, productive life and doing that with family and friends and being a positive entity on other people that are around us.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think family is always first. Keeping your focus in your home, I think, is a step to making the world a better place. And being a good person, giving, being strong in your convictions in anything, in work, in life, in any situation, for sure.
When you know what they say, right? Is like what you give, what you put out is what you get back tenfold.
Yeah. The universe seems funny like that. And in a game like professional wrestling, a facet of showbiz, it can be hard to do that. How does that translate to your functioning in the wrestling business?
Well, I mean, the wrestling business is like it's its own entity, right? And I mean, you know that, she knows that, anybody who's involved in the business knows and understands that. And there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on in the wrestling business. You know, and that could be from wrestlers or promoters. And there's a lot of negativity that surrounds the wrestling business, especially like in like the online discourse. But one of the ways that I think we collectively just approach the wrestling business is to just always keep things honest on our end when we're dealing with anybody, whether that be like promoters or wrestlers. Try to be very easy and flexible to work with, because a lot of people are not flexible in the wrestling business. And I think if you just approach it with that mindset, like, hey, I'm here to have fun. Yeah, we're making money. and being involved in the business, but I just try to take it day by day in the business and be smart about the choices that I'm making and be honest with the people that I'm dealing with. Because if you're honest with the people that you're dealing with and you're not trying to do underhanded tactics, you really never have anything to worry about. Or if somebody's got an issue with you, that's really just on them if you know that you've been doing the right thing.
Yeah, I also think you said something that's interesting there, that you want to be easy to work with. So with you guys being married and being a couple and being a package deal and an act together, do you find that you have to maneuver differently than when you were on your own? Angelina, do you with a little more experience, how do you navigate those waters?
Well, most of what we do now is together. And I mean, a lot of it's local too. There's so like we're in North Carolina, there's so much indie work here. Um, and like promoters that I knew from prior to him even being in the business, they will hit me up or us up and want to do the collective thing. But just to like touch on what he was saying before is I think the best thing is like just to be in your own bubble. I don't think there's anything wrong with being in your own bubble and just kind of like keeping your nose to yourself and just doing your thing and realizing like I'm here to work and I'm gonna just do my work and then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna live real life at home.
Is that something that came with age? For me, it kind of did. I used to take things really personally. I was really consumed by the whole idea of making it or what one company thought of me, and at some point I go, I can't take it personally. It's not fun if I do. I can't do business that way. Did things change as you got older? Your feelings on the business, your perspective on the business?
Yeah, I think for me that was just like a general life thing too. I know I definitely had a moment like when I still lived in Florida where I was just like, you know what? I am totally okay if like some people are not in my life anymore. They are not adding any value. I don't even think we're really friends. And I just like I'm just the worst at faking anything. So like I can't like fake friendship or liking you or whatever. Like my face always tells the truth. So uh, I think probably like when I was maybe in my 20s, because I got into this very young. I started as a teenager. So, I kind of learned as I went, as I was also growing from like a child into an adult. And I mean, like I definitely now have like a deep don't give a f attitude. I'm like whatever people think. I'm like I know I'm a good person, like we're honest, and we like doing this together. We're besties, like doing everything, bringing my son, making everything like a little family, like weekend road trips and stuff. Like we love that. It's so fun.
That's
Yeah, and well, she got into the business very young, and I got into the business very late. I just turned 39, so I started training wrestling when I was 34. Um, so I think like me getting into the business later, it actually helped me out because I'm already coming from a place of like being a mature adult. So I think having that kind of in the bag when you go into the wrestling business, and from my experience of just my own businesses that I've done that I have outside of the wrestling business, it allows me to understand, hey, like this is just a decision that they're making for the company. This is what they want to do. So you can't take everything personal when people are making decisions or they want to go a certain route. I mean, like we had that with one particular three-letter brand that we were working for at the time, and they wanted to go one way and we wanted to go another way, and I just said, hey man, like maybe we'll hook back up at some other point. I respect their decision to do whatever they wanted to do at the time, but I thought it would be better for us to go a different direction, and it's just, hey man, it's nothing personal, it's just
Well,
how it is.
and Timmy, when you're younger and you're in the business, it's everything. It's all consuming. It is, you're just like, you just got to have it all, want to have it all, whatever, whatever. And then I think, like, I have a child and we have like a school schedule and raising, you know what I mean? Like, so home means a lot different. Like, I told my husband, like, man, like when I would get home from like a TNA house show loop, I'd go straight to the chiropractor and then I would go home and then I would sleep probably the balance of the day that I got home. And, I'd be going to bed at 2 a.m. and waking up at noon if I could and just doing whatever. And it's like when you become a parent and you're in a different place in life, it's like I barely even remember that lifestyle, But it's just not everything anymore as you get older, because maybe you have new businesses or new things come up where, like, yeah, it's still part of your life, but not like it was when you were like 25, you know?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point that you guys are bringing up, and Fodder, you said something that really piqued my interest too, because getting into the business later, sure, you often hear what they're looking for. This is what we're looking for age-wise, but there are no rules. The rule is get over, right? The rule is figure it out. And right. And so like when you say you got in later and you were a grown man getting in, I think like the trade-off is often there for somebody who has life experience and can handle themselves like a business person. And your rise has been much quicker. Do you feel that way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And most of the not just indie promoters, but some of the larger companies that we work for, the comment that I get all the time is that we like working with you because you look at everything from a business perspective. So, getting for me, like my ascension to, basically from like a guy who just like started training, and then like within like 2 years, like I was, working on NWA and doing stuff with AEW and all that. I mean, it's like it was really quick, but just knowing how to approach people and do things in a business like manner, I think definitely gave me an advantage, because you're right. I mean, like you hear all this stuff, like they're looking for you to like lock up like this or hit the ropes like this, and that's what's going to get you hired. And it's really, there's no rules, man. It's just like you're there, and if they like what they see, then you're hired. If not, then you're not hired.
And it changes all the time too. It's like you got to be a 20-year-old college athlete, or you have to be 6'4", 250 pounds, no tattoos, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And coming from being in that developmental system and in WWE for a while, Angelina, you know that it's on Friday, it can be no clotheslines. And then a week and a half later, it's, why isn't anybody throwing clotheslines? And it's just,
Oh, well, and a lot of it with your look too, right? Like I know that was, especially in Deep South, that was always, it was like, however you are hired looking, you must stay that way, and like Gallows, he had like a little Superman tattoo on his arm and he really wanted to cover that up. And I think they just kept telling him like, no, you can't, you can't, you can't. And then he ended up getting like some huge, he just did it one day, got this huge skull thing. And man, he got in so much trouble. And for me, like I've always been like this, right? Well, I was wanting to add like a little bit of brown, maybe a little bit of black, kind of whatever. And I remember I was always told like, no, 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 no. And then one day I just did it. And then I went to the training center the next day and like no one noticed. And I was like, why was this a big deal? Like you don't even notice it.
yeah, it's crazy. I'm always interested, Angelina, in your journey because um, I really feel like people who are talented and driven, they're going to make it no matter what. Like you can drop them in any era, you can drop them in any territory. It doesn't matter. They're going to figure it out. And I remember being in OVW, and when you're in Deep South and they shipped you to OVW and you were let go 2 days later. And I remember thinking that was freaking disgusting. Like it made everybody's head spin.
Yeah.
I know it had to be a hard time, but like you really bounced back and went on to a career high. What gave you that determination? How did that feel at the time? And then how did the comeback feel?
Well, I felt like, I was only 25 when I got released from WWE. So I'm like, well, there's no way. Like, I'm so young and I'm good. There's no way that like this is it. Like this, I just that was not like in my realm of belief whatsoever. Wild and hectic time. I had kind of just very recently caught up with like Mike Knox and Gallows about that whole like Deep South thing, and how it just kind of shut down out of nowhere. And it was like, if you were going to TV, you went to OVW, and if they had nothing for you and you were still just training, you went down to Tampa and started FCW. And I mean, that was like the second time in my life I had ever had like a complete panic attack, was like right when I got to Louisville. And some of the guys had got there before me. I was the last one to get there, and they were already doing the Six Flags shows. And I was like, am I supposed to do these shows? Like, I don't know. I haven't heard anything and I'm not there, but everyone else is there and I don't know what to do. And no one's telling me what to do. And, my parents came down, and, that whole rock star story, they basically drove 11 hours from Canada down to Louisville to help me to basically get my apartment together while I could go do one training class, one show, one tape review, and then get released that night. And, they had already gone back to Canada. They turned around once Nova called me and told me that I was released. They turned around, stopped on a dime, crossed the border, drove 8 hours back, and brought me back to Canada. And I was living in my sister's house in the guest room, 25 years old. And, I had only in my head ever pictured being a WWE diva. That was it. It was like, that was it. And that was it. Right. So when I lost that, I most certainly bawled myself to sleep probably for a month straight. But then it was like I went down to AAA, and definitely was not emotionally ready to be doing shows at that time. And I got my ass whooped down there. And like just did some indies like in Canada. And I think I did a couple in the States. And then, I mean, within 4 months, TNA was starting the Knockouts division and they hit me up. So I was definitely down for that. Obviously, like we knew what TNA was. I was doing, we were all as Toronto kids were going down to Nashville to, back in like 02, 03 to do like just be at and be seen at like those Wednesday pay-per-views and stuff. So we knew of it. So yeah, it was, and little did I know, like, hindsight is, you realize later, like, I was like, it was just never meant to work in WWE, and that's okay. It took me a long time to realize that though. But I think a few years into TNA and a lot of success really showed me like, well, this was your path. That's why.
How do you feel looking back on the legacy that you left there? I mean, you helped build that division, which is, let's be honest, that was the door jam, the kick in for what's happening with women's wrestling today. And the beautiful people and yourself was a huge part of that. Are you cognizant of that legacy and that impact that you had?
Yeah. I mean, it's like still to this day when we go to indie shows, like there will be somebody who will come up to me and be like, "Oh man, like you totally influenced me." A lot of guys too, actually. But yeah, and that's something that I'm so glad and blessed that I had the opportunity, because I'm like an OG, like there was a chunk of us that started it. And a lot of us went from devastated because like we never made it in WWE or never got hired in the first place, and that's all we ever wanted. And then we got to go do this thing, and man, it blew up into the biggest thing ever. So that's something that I will always have, that nobody can take away from me, is that I was an original in starting a division that really was the women's evolution, revolution, whatever you want to call it. Like that was the catalyst for sure. So I mean, like, I don't like think about it on the daily, but like sometimes if you have like somebody be like, "Oh man, like I'm a fan from Egypt," or like some country where like you don't even think about, maybe they would have watched at some time or known who I was, it kind of like brings you down to like, man, like this has just been totally wild.
Yeah, it's pretty punk rock to to have the dream, what you thought was going to be the path and the door to your future be shut, and then trailblaze and create your own, banging pots and pans together and not trying to hit the target, but showing that you are the target. I
Well,
think,
there wasn't no not making it. There wasn't no not having something happen. Like I said, I was only 25 and I'm like, this cannot be it. And even when I had my visa issue in TNA, well, actually, how was I? Yeah, so within 2 years in TNA, I had that visa issue, and then I was released again, and I'm just like, and I'm like, I'm in my prime right now. Like, there is still no way
yeah,
that like it's over now or like this is it, and it wasn't. So I think I kind of can tell, like intuition wise, like
right, right. Uh, Psycho Boy, coming into the business, at you said 34.
Yeah, 34. Yeah.
Okay, what prompted you at that age, at that point in your life, to say, I'm gonna go start taking back bumps and drills?
Right. Well, I had always wanted to be a professional wrestler. That was my dream when I was a child. And I actually went to wrestling school when I was 16 years old. A My art teacher was a guy named Dustin Massey, and he was a guy named Laz in like TNA Wildside, and he did some stuff like at TNA and everything. And he had got me into the wrestling school when I was 16, and then they told me I couldn't come back until I was 18, and it was kind of a whole deal. So I got off doing other things, and I was doing bodybuilding shows for probably 10 years. And one day, man, I was just in the gym and I just saw an advertisement for, it was like, do you want to be a pro wrestler? And I hit him up and I was like, hey, like, do you know anything about this? And I think my mindset at that time was, when you're bodybuilding, your body gets really stiff because you're just kind of doing like one motion exercises like all the time, curls and leg press and this and that. And I didn't have like a lot of flexibility, or I just wasn't like really loose like an athlete would be. So I figured, I was like, well, this could be something that I could do that could kind of help like loosen my body up. And my initial idea was, when I had actually hit this wrestling school up, was like that I just wanted to do like private lessons, because most people know is like, if you're doing anything like MMA or jujitsu or like whatever it is, like there's always like overzealous people that are in these classes and stuff that I would say they get I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for. They just get too hyped up, right? And
Yeah,
like
they get
they
too
think
wound up.
yeah, like he's got you in like a hold, and like he cranks it extra hard and he injures you by accident or whatever. And I didn't want anything to like mess up my bodybuilding stuff. So I had actually just requested to do like private lessons. And then the guy was just like, well, I can't do private lessons because like I need to like watch you in the ring, like with other people, and like see what you're doing. And I can't do that like if I'm in the ring with you. So I ended up going to the wrestling school, and like EC3 was actually a good friend of mine, even before I ever got into wrestling, because like my real gig is that I run 3 different supplement brands. So a lot of wrestlers I would send supplements to, and they would help promote and do that type of deal. So I knew EC3 from that. And when he got let go from WWE, that first vignette that he shot, which was like him, like it was like a cinematic thing where he was like fighting in like a garage, and there were like all these people around. And he asked me if I wanted to come down and do it. So I was the guy fighting him in that. So that was kind of like my first. I don't even know that I'd even had a match in front of a crowd at that point, because this was like during COVID. So I remember he just hit me up and was like, come down and do this. Like, you'll be the guy like fighting me in in the video or whatever. And that was my first experience with like a budgeted type production. And I met, Braun Strowman there, and Moose, and just tons of guys. And from there, it just kind of showed me like, oh, okay, like this is something that I could maybe actually do and have some success at, because I'm very big on um more success like pushes me to go even harder. So it's, once you kind of get that first taste where you're like, okay, I'm actually kind of good at this. People think that I can do it. So now I want to go even further. So I just started putting in more work, and then EC3 was doing the Free the Narrative, like those wrestling films, and I started doing those, and then we started doing like the live shows, and then that just kind of turned into, we did like a big run-in at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, the Final Battle 2021. It was me, Braun Strowman, EC3, and Weston Blake. And then like right after that, like AEW had hit me up. I did a bunch of shots with them, and then not long after that, NWA hired me. So it was like, it was just one thing after another happening, and it's just like, as you know, you don't really think about it as it's happening, because it's just happening and you're just doing it. But I mean, it was definitely kind of a big whirlwind to kind of get me into it and almost like fast track me. Like I would say, dude, like I was probably caught up in terms of like wrestling experience. Like it was like 10 years worth of like learning in like 2 years.
There's a whole generation now of wrestlers who started in that pandemic era, which is pretty wild if you think about, like, getting thrown in front of a live crowd was the thing. Like, that was the thing. So to learn how to work under different circumstances, do you feel like that was a beneficial start?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird, right? Because like you would hear like wrestlers who all they've ever done is like work in front of crowds, um, talk about how weird it was to not work in front of any people. And then that's kind of all I knew, was just like working in front of nobody. So like all like the narrative films that he was doing, you know, obviously there were like extras and stuff like that, like on the set, but like it wasn't like working in front of a live audience. So that was one thing that I actually had to learn kind of on the fly, was like, oh, okay, like this is like what getting crowd reaction is, and listening to the crowd like while you're doing a match and kind of improvising some things. So for me, it was going from being really comfortable working in front of nobody to trying to learn how to work in front of tons of people, and then read the audience, and listen to time cues from a referee, and all of that, like when you're doing television.
You know, I would say like that doesn't it doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 2 years or 22 years, because I was under contract with Ring of Honor when they had come in. That was the last pay-per-view that we did before Tony Khan ended up buying it, right? So it was what was it, Death Before Dishonor? Was
I
that
think it was Final Battle.
Final Battle? That's what it was, Final Battle. And I had done a tag match on that show, and we were under the same roof. We never met each other then. We didn't even see each other backstage or nothing, which is funny. There was actually 2 times like that before we actually like met. But so I got hired by Ring of Honor in 2019. So I would have been 19 years in the business, right? And then when COVID happened and we were doing stuff in front of nobody, we were just like, oh, it's so weird. But then immediately everybody got used to it. And then we were doing that for months. So then when we went back to actually having some crowds, these are all people who are anywhere from like 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years in the business. And we're nervous about getting back in front of crowds, because we just totally got used to wrestling in front of nobody. And it's like, damn, if you screw up, it doesn't matter. They'll stop the cameras. You can set for a second. They'll cut it out in post. They'll start the cameras again, and you can just film it. And everything is perfect all the time. If you have to redo a finish because it looked crappy, that's fine. Cut the cameras. All right, everybody get set again. This is where you were standing. Okay, boom, hit the finish. Perfect. We'll put it together in post. So when we were all so nervous when we started going in front of fans again. And we've been doing it forever.
Yeah. I guess it's a good time to ask, how did you guys meet, and what brought you guys together?
He can tell us.
Oh, well, we met at Ricky Morton, he's like my wrestling father. He called me up. This was like on a Wednesday. I was actually pulling into the parking lot at the grocery store, which I go to the grocery store every day. And I'm walking in, and he's like, hey man, he's like, you think you can come to Nashville on Monday?
So this would have been August 2023.
August 2020.
No, 2022.
2022.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2022.
So I was like, yeah, man, no problem. He was like, well, he's like, we're doing 3 days of TV tapings. We got a 2-day pay-per-view this weekend. I think they were doing NWA 74.
No, I think it was either 73 or 74 in St. Louis. It was the Saturday, Sunday
73 maybe.
pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And then it was straight to Nashville Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the Skyway Studios for
TV
TVs.
tapings.
Yeah.
Was it at the Chase, the pay-per-view?
Pay-per-view was at the Chase. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So I shoot up there, and EC3 had just got hired there too. So like it was kind of an easy thing. I just told EC3, I was like, hey man, I'll just room with you. I'm gonna come up there. Ricky Morton wants me to come up, said maybe you get me a match there or whatever. So I end up doing a match, and they basically verbally hired me on this. Like the match that I did was supposed to be a dark match, and they ended up actually using that on the TV program. And when I got done with the match, I mean, they basically kind of verbally hired me right there on the spot. And I saw her in the hallway earlier in the day, and I just kind of made a beeline to her and introduced myself, and we started hanging out. And
What, on like the third day?
yeah, like we hung out we would hang out like in the TV taping, you know what I mean? And kind of chat a little bit or whatever. And then like the last night, which I think was a Wednesday, a bunch of us had went out, and me and her hung out. And after that, we just never quit talking. I mean, we kind of immediately got together, and once we got together and we were kind of like, okay, like we're going to start dating and doing all that. My idea is I was like, hey man, like maybe it would be cool if you managed me. And I could be, Psycho Boy, and you could be Psycho Girl, and then we could do mixed tags. And there's a lot of substance there for things that you can do, with a guy and a girl. And we started doing it, and
we did it on an indie.
Yeah, we did it on an indie.
I got a little outfit, put like, Psycho Girl across my butt and whatever. And we did it at an indie to get the footage to show Billy. And then, I mean, literally as soon as we showed it to him, I mean, at the tapings in January 2023 was when he was like, all right, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. And we started, we got him the footage, and then they basically said like, hey, we're going to put you guys together. We're going to let you do the gimmick here. Cause my thing is I was like, since I'm here, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to run with it if you want to do that on your TV program. Because we were pretty confident that somebody would pick it up and take it and do the gimmick on the TV program. So once they kind of gave us a shot with it, I mean, we went right into doing like a program with Vladimir and Camille, and like I worked him in a kendo stick match like on pay-per-view, and she worked Camille for the belt in like a no holds barred street fight. What pay-per-view was that? On NWA Nuff Said. And
me and EC3. So him and Latimer were the opening match, the kendo stick match. It was the most perfect way to open the show. It was his first pay-per-view, and like me and EC3 are like standing beside each other, like proud mom and dad, like watching him, like because they had a great match. Like he totally killed it.
I love that story. That's great. And navigating the choppy waters of professional wrestling, but having that home life as the core is where it's at. That's
well, it's just the best to do things together too. It's like, why not? Like I had always wanted that anyway, because
well, and like we do everything together. I mean, like, I work from home. She works from home, and we both have our businesses. Like, she's got a skincare line with grass-fed tallow, and she makes sunscreens and lip balms and lotions, anything that you could imagine, like with grass-fed tallow. And then
I have a clothing reselling store.
She's got a clothing reselling store that she has. And then I have like my, supplement brands and whatnot. So like we're always at home together. And then we do the wrestling together. We travel, for all the shows that we're doing together. We hit the gym together. I mean, we do everything together, man. So it's a lot of fun.
And my son's a part of most of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just good to have somebody. Like I always hear people say like, oh man, like I need a break like from my wife or whatever. But like me and her are like best friends, man. Like, so like
he'll go to work. Like he'll go he'll go to work on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And like by the time he's been gone for like 2 hours, like we just get on the FaceTime while I'm at home and he's at the shop and we're just on FaceTime for hours. Like it's always been that way. Like we started off with like little 5-10 minute FaceTimes, like when we first started, you know, talking and stuff. And then they quickly became like 3-hour all day things. So we just like wherever we go, we just like have each other on FaceTime.
Just on FaceTime all the time. Yeah. And so I mean it's cool. It's cool to you know, to have her as, you know, my partner in pretty much everything, because you always got somebody that you can rely on and depend on. And you also have somebody that you're able to share all your memories with too.
Yeah, and successes and things of that nature. It's always interesting knowing where you guys came from. Psycho Boy, where are you from originally?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay. I was just going to say, or ask you rather, individually, respectively, coming up in the industry, what were the earliest adversities you encountered, roadblocks, if you will, that you had to overcome?
In the wrestling business?
Yes, sir.
You know, I think there's a big thing amongst guys about paying your dues. And one of those things is I think because like my rise was very quick, a lot of people can get under the impression where they go like, hey man, like, you know, you hadn't paid your dues, or, you know, you hadn't put in all the miles and rode the roads and done all of that. And, you know, I view that a little bit differently. Like, I wouldn't say that I've had like a ton of adversity in terms of like people were angry with me or approaching me about it or anything like that. But you can tell with people if they kind of feel some sort of way and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think with that, the way I view it is like everybody pays their dues in different ways. So for me, somebody might look at me and go like, oh, like he didn't pay his dues. He got where he's at because he's got a look and a body, right? But to have the look in the body, I had to pay my dues with dieting, training, you know, suffering on the diet, man, when you're trying to win bodybuilding contests. And it's no different than like a football player like being brought into like WWE developmental, where people go like, oh, like he's not a wrestler, this, that, and the third, he's not paying his dues. But it's like, I mean, he has paid his dues, he just paid them in a different way. And he may just be like, what's that Dreamer says is like everybody's got their own path, you know.
Yeah, that's what Nova told me, but I'll get to it.
You know, some people get in the wrestling business and it takes them 15 years before they get to, you know, being hired and being on television full time and all that. Some people do it in 2 years. It just depends on what your path is and how the stars align for you. And, you know, for me, I think it was just very beneficial that because I got in so late, I had already done all the things that would allow me to succeed in the wrestling business if I put the time in the ring. Because guys would basically tell me, they say, man, you got the look, you got the body, all you need to do is learn how to actually work matches in the ring and learn the in-ring stuff. And once I got that down, you never stop learning. So you're always learning new stuff in terms of being in the ring and just about the business in general. But I think getting myself to a point where I was comfortable with who I was in the ring, you know, knowing who my character is, which is just me kind of like turned up to 1,000, right? That allowed me to succeed and kind of overcome a lot of that. And I think that there's a lot of guys that were in the business that may have felt like that about me, that over time their opinion changed about me, you know, because I was a guy who stuck around and stuck it out and put the time in to get to where I'm at now.
Before I get to you, Angelina, I was just, you know, it's wrestling. Everybody gets exposed, right? If you're a piece of shit, you're going to get exposed. If you're a hard worker, you're going to get exposed. It's under the lights, you get exposed. And it's kind of like life. Nobody gets out unscathed, right? And I love that, how you said that. Like, you pay your dues one way or another. So it's again, there's no handbook or rules to this. It's, you know, figure it out.
Yeah.
Angelina, what about yourself? What was some of the biggest diversities that you
I had to grab my phone and write them down so I didn't forget while he was talking. Because like, so I started when I was 18. And like, first and foremost, which every woman who I think gets into the business at any point in time, the first thing that is offered to you is you can sleep your way to the top if you would like. That is always an open thing for a woman to do. And I remember like being so offended. Like I was like, oh my God, like no, ew, no. Like, I mean, I want to like actually get somewhere because I'm good. Why wouldn't anybody want that? Because otherwise it's so phony. Like you're not actually accomplishing anything because you're talented and have a good look and you've been working hard or whatever. It's just because of this other thing that has nothing to do with the business. And I'm like, I'm just always, I need to be able to put my head on my pillow and sleep at night, knowing who I am. So that was just never a thing, but that's always an option for girls still to this day. I would believe. Cattiness too, just insecurity that I think that's with men and women. I had a really great start because like we had a really great group of people in Toronto that were all coming up together. I was training and wrestling Tracy Brooks all the time, Gail, Beth Phoenix. There was me, there was Taylor Wilde came up after. So like there was a lot of us. The guys were really cool and supportive. You got Sin and his brother, my trainer, Rob Fuego, was probably the best trainer females could have. EY, Sean Spears, all tons of Cody Diener, tons of Ontario guys making it somewhere. So a lot of support along with the cattiness. But when I got into WWE, for us, like it was like, well, you have to kind of have this look and everybody's gotta, buy the goods. And that was a prerequisite at the time, like 03, 02, 03, 04 was like, you gotta have the implants and you gotta have this look, right? And so like when I got hired and I was in WWE, that was kind of like when the Diva Search was happening. So I think something that really threw a wrench in developmental girls and indie girls was like the Diva Search and this infusion of models and people who had no training or background in the business whatsoever, maybe didn't even know what wrestling was. They were just trying to win a contract to be on TV. And, we're busting our asses on the indies and we're hired in developmental to get to TV. And we're told like, gotta train, gotta train, gotta train, gotta train, gotta do this, gotta know how to wrestle, whatever. And then you just see all these models come in and all of them are immediately on TV with no experience whatsoever. And you're just like, hold on a minute. Like, am I tripping? Like, I thought there was all these like hold on. I gotta plug my computer in. I thought there was all these prerequisites.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo on this. Right.
Right, like to making it. And I remember like when I was in Deep South, I had so many people telling me like, like, oh my gosh, like you're so good. You have the look. You're like one of the best female wrestlers like we've seen. You should be on the road. Like you should be here. You should be here. And at first you hear that you're 23 years old. You're like, oh man, that's great. Like that's awesome. That's so cool. Like I really appreciate that. And then after 2 years of like going to TV and things come maybe not panning out with storylines and you're in developmental and you're all of a sudden kind of being used to help train the Diva Search girls so they can get to TV. So you're, and it's just like, then you still have people telling you like, man, you're so good. Like, whatever. And after a while, you're just like, it's not even a compliment anymore. You're just like, I mean, if I'm so good and I should be on TV, like, why aren't I? And why are all these girls that are being taught how to do a 3-minute match by Fit Finley that day on television? And like, we're not, you know? And I had that conversation with Nova once he replaced Dreamer in talent relations. And I think he had just said to me, he was just like, Williams, he's always called me Williams. He's like, everybody just has a different path. This is just their path. Your path is your path there, but you can't get mad at them. This is just how it is going for them, and how things are going for you are how they are going for you, and how things are going for the next person. Everybody's path is different. And I had told him that, because he's been hit with some jealousy, because I told him, I'm like, well, you're kind of like the Diva Search man. You know what I mean? Like you came, you came in with like a really good look, and you got to do things a lot faster than people who have been doing this for 10, 12 years. This more than they've ever accomplished in the 10 to 12 years. So there's that jealousy, and it's, but I know from my own experience, it's like, it's just your path. Like, that's just how it is. This is your path. Other people's paths are their paths. And then obviously for females in the business, it's like, maybe not so much now, but definitely back in like the diva era, it was like how you look, how you look, how you look, how you look, you know? And it's like, that's always difficult for a female, because I got it both ways, where it was like, you know, are you happy with, you know, like, how tall are you and how much do you weigh? Like, do you think that like matches? Like, are you, and you're just like, I mean, I, I didn't have a problem with it. Maybe until now, if I should, I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know what the right answer is, you know, and then I had torn my ACL and I had lost a lot of weight because I was like training my ass off to get back to TV. And
You were shredded. I remember that time period.
oh yeah, I was a crazy shredded. I was doing like 4 hours of rehab a day, like 4 to 5 days a week. And then it was, are you doing okay? Yeah, I just noticed you've really lost a lot of weight in the last 2 years. And I just, you know, I'm looking out for my divas. And I'm like, what is it? Are we fat? Are we too skinny? Is there a happy medium? You never know. And then there's, you know, everybody's got to be blonde. Everybody's got to have implants, no tattoos. And now it's just like a free for all. You can have green hair, tattoos. You could be 150 pounds. You could be 100 pounds. It doesn't matter. You know, it's whatever. So it's like there's always something. You just like never know what you're gonna get.
Let me ask you this, because I think the women from your era deserve special credit. You know, Angelina Love, Mickey James, Beth Phoenix. These are women who love the business enough to pursue it, chase it, get it. And then, like you said, this introduction of this variable of the divas, and then you guys were put in a position where it was like you were expected to not only train with them, but train them in a way and kind of give your gifts away, and almost probably felt like give your spots a little bit.
Well, you're like being used basically. And I was like, to my knowledge, I'm not hired here to be a trainer. I'm also trying to get to television.
And then you're difficult. And then you're difficult if you say that, right? Like,
Right. Well, and that's something we noticed too, is that the difference between indie girls and like a Diva Search girls or models that came in is like, man, they were making all kinds of wild demands and contractual and monetary things. And we were all just like, if we ever did that, oh my gosh, we would have been fired on the spot. Like, it was like wild to see like how for some people that was totally acceptable. And for like the people who like actually like loved this since they were kids and wanted to make a life out of it, that would have been the biggest no-no ever. Like, good career death, basically.
That's the screwed up part, because I remember there was just those feelings and those questions of why are people being punished because they love it. And so when you see how far things have come now, and like you said, it's sort of a free-for-all, all shapes, sizes, looks, do you look at that and go, I helped it get there? Do you look at that and go, damn it, I wish it was like that back when I was in WWE and developmental? Or do you just say, c'est la vie?
I think it all goes back to everybody's path, right? Because like not every single person makes it in wrestling. There's probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of indie wrestlers around the world, right? Well, not everybody's going to get hired by WWE or AEW or TNA or whatever, right? So, but I think that there still needs to be that kind of like respect for like the professionalism and how you should look. Just like, you know, just like football players, like professional sports, hockey players. It's like you have to have everything and be on the upper echelon to, you know, be on like on the NHL and like on television, and same with the NFL. And, you know, like you ain't gonna have a like a manager of a Burger King. You're not gonna put them on the field at the Super Bowl. 2 weeks after training them. Like that would be completely insane. But like in wrestling, it's like sometimes those things can happen where it's like very welcoming, and it's just like, it just is what it is. And I'm like, it's pro wrestling, man. It is its own world. It's on its own planet, and it just kind of like is what it is.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I don't really know, like, man, if you start like dive in and trying to break things down and whatever, like you'll just go crazy, because it's like, well, who knows why anybody gets anything anywhere at any time? It just,
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
just the way it is. Yeah.
You could do everything right, have a great look, great promo. Your work is great in the ring, but somebody doesn't like your hair.
You know what they say. You know what they say about everything, right? It's like it's not who you know. It's who's willing to say that they know you.
Yes, exactly. You got to get the advocates, and that's not easy. That's a hustle in and of itself.
And you got to know you got to know how to network, right? I mean, like I come from marketing. Like that's what I do with supplements, right? Is knowing how to market supplements and sell them to an audience, right? And wrestling's no different. I'm just selling myself or our act as performers to an audience, and being able to market yourself, things like having like a professional YouTube channel where you have all of your stuff that's people can view, having merch, um, you know, working other guys with reputable names, so that if they're working at a particular company and maybe you want to get a look there, if you've worked a lot of guys that work there, then you have a lot of people that advocate, hey, he's a good guy, he's easy to work with. It's all about who's recommending you to the decision makers ultimately.
Psycho Boy, I know with asking you about the adversity and uh being encountering people maybe thinking or that feeling that, well, you're not as tenured or whatever the case may be. What about any adversities in life that you encountered that you had to overcome to become successful in bodybuilding and your supplement company, and then probably translated to wrestling?
Well, I mean, one thing is that definitely when I was younger, like in my early 20s, um, I had some issues with alcohol, and one incident that almost led to my death. So taking things like that and not becoming a victim to them, and using those kind of situations to, in my case, one of the incidents which almost cost me my life, looking at that and going like, okay, like you're given another chance here. Here's your time to make the corrections and learn from it, and then take what you've learned from that to help you excel in whatever you're trying to do. So, at the time it was, the incident with alcohol that, kind of pushed me into doing bodybuilding. Because if you want to have a great physique, alcohol's not in the equation. Usually, if you want to have a physique that is competitive on a national stage, usually alcohol's not in the equation. So things like that gave me a lot of motivation to say like, okay, like I don't need this is going to be detrimental to what I'm trying to do here, and use that to kind of help put me in a space where I was able to focus on like my diet, my training, doing shows, build a really good quality looking physique, and then through doing that led me to the wrestling. So it's kind of like a full circle type of thing.
With with everything you guys have gone through individually, what's something you would say to anybody in the business, outside the business, Angelina, who may be struggling with some of the same things as far as having a set of standards put on them and that constantly being an influence on how they live their lives. What kind of advice would you give?
Anything I've ever told everybody who's ever asked that, like my first thing is I say you have to have a thick skin with wrestling because it is so critical that you can really get lost in critiques and criticism and stuff. So you have to have a thick skin, and you have to keep your focus on what is making it. You know what I mean? Not whatever you have going on in like your own little world or what you think things should be. You got to live in reality, and you've got to say, okay, these people are on television because why? You know what I mean? And you can't ever be something that you're not, because that's the phoniest thing ever. So like with me and Velvet, like, are we as the beautiful people would act? No, but it's like us being like silly times 1,000, and we're acting and just being whatevs, you know? So it's like, and I've done a lot of seminars where like I'll have some people like cut promos and stuff, because like promos are totally my forte. And I can tell when people are not feeling it. And I think that was something that Velvet and I were so good at in The Beautiful People, is that we were very believable and people actually thought we were that way. And that can get people emotionally invested in you, whether they love you or hate you, right? So it's like you have to come across as believable, because wrestling fans know like this person doesn't even believe what they're saying. They're just acting, they're bad actors, they're reciting lines, doesn't sound good, because everything's so critical. So it's like you just have to find what you are most comfortable with and what you can portray the best, and go off of that, because that's going to be the most authentic thing. And authenticity I think is very huge in this business when it comes to people like believing in you and what you're trying to sell them, basically.
Yeah, and I think also there's a disconnect a lot of times in wrestling where people want to be who they perceive themselves as opposed to who the audience perceives you as. And that can kind of be a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but oftentimes, like you said, you and Jamie, or you and Velvet are not, or don't act like the beautiful people. But hey, the shoe fit and it worked.
Mhm.
So the rule is get over, right? So let's run with this, because we can make it believable, because the audience perceives that. You kind of alluded to it, where you're like, kind of look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, where people try to do something that they don't exactly fit the bill for.
Well, and
right?
my husband and I have had this conversation before too. It seems like nowadays, just because you enjoy a certain style of wrestling does not mean that you should emulate it, because if you cannot do it as well as the person that is doing it or the people that are doing it, it doesn't look good. And maybe that should not be your thing. And maybe you should try to do other things or another style that you can put across much better than the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, take something that difficulty 3, do it at a 10. Let's start with that. And you say people kind of working outside of their wheelhouse, but it's funny too. Like you guys really nail it. Like I can look at a picture of you, Psycho Boy, and go, that dude might be crazy. You know what I mean? And in your style, I go, he might be. And then talking to you, and it actually kind of furthers that, because the guys that are really scary are usually pretty put together.
Pretty laid back.
So what advice?
You interview serial killers, when you watch those, I mean, very common, nice,
This is very true. What advice would you give people, Psycho Boy, whether they're getting into the business late in life, or whether they're getting success quickly and being judged for it, or average Joe who is getting success quickly and people are either jealous or thinking they haven't paid their dues?
You got to keep yourself grounded, right? Because it's very easy to get success and then have your head up your ass, and you think you're the best thing going, as opposed to knowing what some kind of success is, and then saying, okay, I'm going to put my head down and I'm just going to keep grinding and keep doing what is producing these results. You know, a lot of people get way ahead of themselves and they get that first taste of success, and then it's just like, I'm the man, dude. Like, and that's not the way to go, because that is something that's gonna make a lot of people not care for you. And then B, usually when you've got your head up your ass, you kind of stop learning. And when you stop learning, you start making mistakes. And you know, the best way to go about it is to just take the success that you're getting, put your best foot forward, and just keep trying to do the same thing that's producing those results, and take advice from people, apply that to yourself, and then just do the best job that you can. And usually that ends up working out in the end.
And honestly, like, one of the biggest disservices you can do for yourself in this business is act like you know everything, because that's definitely like an epidemic in the business these days. Is it's just like, man, like, I mean, everywhere you go, it's just like everybody knows everything. You know, no one's asking questions, no one wants advice, or if they do ask, it's never applied, or they just, it's, you just see it a lot where it's just like people, even 6 months into the business, act like they don't know why they haven't gotten anywhere. And it's like, that is not how it works.
I'm 6%. Well, I'm not on WrestleMania, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
okay.
Look in the mirror. Yeah. Like it's, I don't know if that's the younger generation. That's what I'm being told. But, you know, I encountered
The
that.
newer, yeah.
Very entitled, you know? It's like, I signed up for wrestling school today. Where's my WWE contract?
Yeah.
Right, right. Psycho Boy, do you credit EC3 for really helping you get the launching pad that you needed and kind of teach you how to fish? Or was it a what kind of relationship was that?
Oh, I mean, me and EC3 we're like best friends, man. And you know, I mean, like, I wouldn't say that like he gave me a lot of opportunity for eyes to be placed on me.
Yeah.
You know, which, I mean, you really can't ask for more than that. And as far as like the in-ring stuff, he would watch matches with me when I asked him to. And he would say, like, hey, you know, you could do this or you could do that, or, you know, this might be better or that might be better. But a lot of it is like Dr. Tom. He used to agent a lot of my matches at NWA. He would just say, it's just different flavors of ice cream.
It's different flavors of ice creams.
Right.
Right.
It's
That's back to our developmental
Yeah.
days.
I like Rocky Road. Yeah.
so you know, and a lot of wrestling is not the moves, it's all the in-between stuff that makes you a great professional wrestler. So you know, being able to pick up things from him and learn things from him, or you know, guys like a Matt Seidel or like a Moose, or who, you know, whoever, I could pick stuff up from.
Well,
You know,
you had your aha moment. Got it.
yeah. I was working John Schuyler.
Mhm.
He's currently hired at TNA, and I remember we were doing a match, and when I watched the match back, I just watched it, and it was just like he just led me all around the ring. And I remember being kind of in the moment going like, oh, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, you don't have to move at 100 miles an hour. You can take your time. You can talk in the ring. You can listen. And, you know, when you have that light bulb moment go off, that's kind of a game changer. Because now you kind of know what you're supposed to be doing and can apply that to future things that you're doing in the ring. So EC3, definitely a lot of, you know, I definitely credit a lot of my success to him, a lot to Ricky Morton, a lot to my wife, who has definitely played a huge role in like promos and character stuff and all that for me.
You ask EC3, he will call him his greatest creation.
Right.
I like that light bulb story, and I love hearing about that because it is. You're right. It's a game changer. It's almost like being able to suddenly be able to breathe underwater or move
Right.
in the music.
People never get the light bulb moment, right? Like they're like 20 years in and that like they still ain't figured it out, you know?
I had mine with Tracy Brooks
Tell me about that.
back in the day. Oh, so basically like when I first started in 2000, there were not a lot of people on the indies. And like, you know, Beth and Tracy and Gail were on the indies, but they were doing Ron Hutchinson's shows in Toronto. And if you worked for Ron, you could only do Ron shows, right? So they were all just there. So like me just doing like every other indie in Ontario or whatever, it was like very few females at the time. Like in 2000, it was just either guys' girlfriends or strippers that
Yep.
were in the locker room, just chicks, just maybe just bring this girl to be your manager or whatever, right? So I think that like, so I stuck out from the beginning because I'm like, you know, like I've got like a Stone Cold Steve Austin like skull wallet, you know, and I'm like actually a fan, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a wrestler, and everyone was like, I mean, we never hear that from any girls that start. But Tracy, you know, so I was like the tiny little like 18, 19-year-old little blonde girl, and she's like, you know, the ravenous, like bodacious dark hair. So it was an easy baby face heel thing, right? So once they all kind of decided collectively to like leave Ron's place and start doing all the other shows, it was like me, Tracy, and Gail, and Sin, and a couple of Chris Chambers, some guys from Ontario. We had all started training with Fuego. So we were training together all the time. Demore was running BCW. We were doing those shows. And we would go work for a guy in Cleveland, Ohio. His name was JT Lightning.
Lightning, yeah.
Yes, you know, yes. So he would book me and Tracy and Gail a lot. And I was, we're both Virgos, big perfectionist trait is a Virgo thing, right? So like me, I'm like, just like when anybody gets into wrestling, you try to memorize everything and remember everything, every single move, every blah, 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 that your opponent, you, everything. It's a very stressful, very, very stressful. And I remember wrestling Tracy, and Tracy would not tell me what she was going to do to me in the heat. And I was like, oh, this is nerve-wracking, you know, and I just listened to her, and like, she would do something to me, and then like, and I would just sell because I don't even know what to do or what's coming. And she would pick me up, and as she was picking me up, she'd be like, take a body slam. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know how to do that. And then it's this. And then it just became a thing where it was like, I didn't need to memorize everything. And it was actually the least stressful thing, where I thought it would be more stressful, like going out there just not knowing what I'm doing, but just having somebody talk to me and just tell me on the fly very easily and slowly like what was going on. Man, I remember getting to the back and I felt like 1,000 pounds lighter. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe we had that match, and like I didn't know every single thing that was happening, and like I just felt like I had this 1,000-pound weight of like stress off my shoulders, and like that was it for me.
I love hearing about people's light bulb stories, and usually people remember them. And if they don't, you're right. Something probably hasn't
I
gone.
haven't had it yet.
What's next for you guys? What do you see on the horizon for Psycho Love?
We work lots of the really, really big indies, you know. So I mean, I think there's some opportunity for us to do some more work with one of the 3-letter brands in the future. I mean, we've been talking to some, so a lot of that is just figuring things out, like with our schedule and school and all of that type of stuff. So that stuff has to make logical sense in terms of, you know, with her son. But man, I mean, we're booked every week. So I mean, we're all over, man. I mean, you could catch us really anywhere.
Well, you know, and to me, the most freeing thing is when you don't need it.
Right.
Not reliant upon it. Like I said, like all of us are when we're very young. When you get older, you know, and we are not reliant upon like a contract or something to be able to live.
And dude, like I don't mind doing indies anyway.
Right.
Like I like doing the indies because we're in control of pretty much what happens, like, I have very good relationships with like all the bookers on, lots of like the big indie shows and stuff like that. I can work who I want. um and it's very it's it's very relieving, man, to be able to just work with like top level pros all the time. And then when you're just working the indies, you're not really relegated to like what a writer wants you to do. It's just like, this is my thing, this is our thing, this is what we do. Hey, like, I got this idea, like, maybe we'll set this thing up where me and Lauren will work Matt Cardona in a crazy street fight, you know what I mean? And it's like, my creative ideas can come to fruition exactly how I want them to be.
Right.
And that's a whole lot better than like some guy writing something for you and you're going like, I don't like this. Because I never got into wrestling. I got into wrestling because I love to do it, not because I need the money or anything like that, right? So when I'm going to work, and it's like everybody wants to work on television, right? But then when you start actually working on television and you go to work and you fly to, Chicago or somewhere, right, where you're going to do a 3-day TV loop, and you get stuff handed to you that doesn't make any sense, and you're just going like, what is this? Then that kind of stuff makes me hate it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to hate
Sucks to
this.
fuck
Yeah,
up.
it's like, I don't want to hate this. Like, I got into doing this because I like to do it. So if I just work indies and work the guys I want to work and kind of can work with the bookers and create like cool programs like on the indies. I mean, all of our matches get filmed. They're going on YouTube. They're getting 5, 10,000 views on YouTube and stuff. So I mean, it's like, it's not like people are not seeing the work and are not aware of the work. Um, I'm totally okay with that too.
Yeah, you got a great YouTube channel. I was looking at it
Hey,
earlier. Yeah, very, very well done. Do you guys have what are your socials, and what plugs do you have as far as your outside enterprises as well?
yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All of that is at LOKEYS 910, youtube.com/Psycho Boy Fodder. Our merch store and all that stuff is through the YouTube channel. And I mean, coming up, I mean, we got lots of shows coming up. I mean, we're pretty much booked places every week. We got a
We're going to Hawaii.
loop coming up in Hawaii here, second week of October.
For Oost Wrestling, yeah.
Oost Wrestling, yeah.
Runs that.
And we got WrestleCade coming up, Blizzard Brawl. I mean, there's tons of stuff, man. So I mean, we stay pretty busy all the time. So if you're watching this and want to check out our stuff, check it out. And hopefully we'll see you at a live event sometime.
Angelina, what's your socials?
Yeah, Twitter's at actual Alove, and Instagram. Gosh, I wish I could change it. It's Alove, the number 4 life 222.
It happens. This may be a morbid question, but you pass on and you die. Your memorial show. Who's working? Who's working the headline match? Who's working the main event
Oh,
or the last segment?
You should have told us this beforehand. I gotta think about that.
man.
Dang.
Man, if I had to say somebody was going to work a memorial match, I mean, they'd obviously need to be younger than me, because I'm just assuming that I'm dying old.
No rules.
No rules. Man, if I just had no rules, I would have probably Bret Hart versus Double J.
There we go. That's pretty good.
Those are two of my favorite wrestlers. So
Well, I would have to have 1996 Sable
Awesome.
on my show in some capacity. I'd like Shawn Michaels. Yeah, I mean, Shawn Michaels was the reason I got in the business. So maybe part 2 of LiMPiN Ain't Easy and
We'll
Psycho
get to
Boy
that.
Thoughts or answer for you.
I want to thank you guys for being on the show. I wish you guys all the success. You guys are you're great people, cool people. This has been LiMPiN AiNT. This is Psycho Boy Fodder, Angelina Love, collectively Psycho Love. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Timmy.
Thank you guys. I have you here, Lauren, and do you remember when I broke the back of your toilet seat?
Yep. Was it after like one of my Super Bowl get-togethers?
It was after the Super Bowl
Thanksgiving.
party,
Okay.
and I had too much tequila, and I'm using the bathroom, and I tip and I fall, and I
Tore the damn thing apart.
So I went and got a new one, and I came, and then I was like, I was going to give it to you, but I think you're in there, and so I just knocked and I left it. Did you get the seat?
I did. Thank you for that. Yes.
It was pretty embarrassing. So sorry about that. You
My
guys,
cat did a number on that condo too before I left, so it's fine.
okay, okay. Good Lord. Yeah, I felt so terrible about that. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to apologize and
Yeah, no problem.
handle that little piece of business. Hey, you jabronis. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to click subscribe to the YouTube channel and podcast. This has been LiMPiN AiNT Easy. It's wrestling, as real as it gets.